Hi, I'm Ramnexus. This video is not about Starfield. It's not meant as a criticism of Bethesda's latest game. I mention Starfield for one reason, and that's because after playing it, I am left wondering why it is Skyrim left me with a great sense of adventure and exploration, but Starfield didn't. And after a good long think, I boiled it down to one word: landmarks. So this video is about that sense of exploration and adventure we get from open world games and how that is achieved in part due to landmarks. Landmarks like these. Landmarks like I see in the distance as I'm wandering Fallout 3's capital wasteland, or the pyramids of Giza as they looked during the time of Ptolemy in Assassin's Creed Origin. How about the crumbling ruins of our culture to be found in the fictional future of Horizon Forbidden West? Or seeing the school of Hogwarts in the background as I go about my studies as a student wizard in Hogwarts Legacy. God, even swinging past the Empire State Building as Spider-Man? Finally, what is it about the almost impossible to believe presence of Jormungandr, the world serpent in God of War, the enormity of this being that was almost more than I could get my head around when I first encountered it? Okay, so that's an outline of what we're going to talk about. If you find this kind of content interesting, I'd really appreciate a like. That'd be great. Thank you. Perhaps consider subscribing to my channel, as I'll be continuing to grow the channel and generate more videos like this. All right, awesome. Thank you. I'll give you an example of the power of seeing these landmarks, and the example is from Fallout New Vegas. Josh Sawyer, lead designer and director for Fallout New Vegas, has commented that one design tenet of New Vegas, following the lead from Fallout 3 designers, was to always have interesting landmarks visible from anywhere in the world for the player. In fact, the plan was for 3 landmarks to be visible at any one time, to orient you and to get you interested and keep you moving, I guess, so you never felt lost. New Vegas certainly has its share of interesting landmarks, and I remember reading that they actually modified the game engine to allow you to see landmarks at a very great distance within the game, and it shows, and it's really helpful. For example, it's hard to ignore Dinky, the T-Rex statue, when you first see him on the horizon, or that large Ranger Unification Treaty monument with the 2 Rangers shaking hands up at the Mojave Station. I always think of Prim's dilapidated roller coaster, which almost seems out of place but gives you a sense of what the game world was like. And then there's Helios 1, that solar array power station, which it's impossible to ignore. It just looks so interesting. Most significantly perhaps is New Vegas, the city itself, and the Lucky 38 spire that you can see on the horizon in the shape of a roulette spinner, constantly lighting up the horizon day or night. When playing the game, you will see these and other landmarks often, and depending on how far into the game you are, they will signify places you've been to or places you'll want to visit. So what are landmarks in video games for? Well, the 2 obvious reasons are to help orient yourself, to work out where you are, and to help you with wayfinding, so to work out where you want to go, what direction you want to travel. There is a popular mod for Skyrim that I use, and you may have heard of. Full title is Alternate Start, Live Another Life. You might be like me and just started using this mod because it allows you to skip past that long cart ride into Helgen, and actually allows you to skip Helgen completely. But there's actually more to the mod than that. It's really quite good. As you can see here, it lets you choose how you want to start the game. My favorite choice is to start with I was attacked and left for dead. Choosing this option, you basically start the game with not much more than the shirt on your back, somewhere in Skyrim. But the thing I invariably do when I come to at this semi-random location is to look around and work out, where am I? Of course, I could just use my map. I don't. Where's the fun in that? I like to get that momentary sense of where the hell am I and how much danger am I in right now? I know the mod is available on PC and on Xbox, but I don't think it's on PlayStation. But I do recommend it. I'm going to give you a real world example of the practical importance of landmarks, but also the emotional content they can elicit. So here in the real world, my house is on top of the highest hill in the area, and I share this hill with a bunch of other houses, but also with this really tall water tower. What I find from driving through the neighborhood is every so often through the trees, I'll spot my water tower. And the first thing I think of is, hey, my house is there. And the second thing that I always think of is, oh, I didn't quite realize it was in that direction, or gee, that's further away than I thought. So there's two things that are happening. One is gives me a sense of happiness that I have a connection to this landmark. It also gives me a better sense of where I am relative to home. As I mentioned, the other obvious use of landmarks is wayfinding, just working out where you need to go for your next quest. I won't always just be talking about Skyrim, but I will use it as another example, and this one's pretty obvious. It's one of those early quests, and in this one, an NPC takes you out into the street and literally points directly at where you need to go.
Town and across the bridge to get to Bleak Falls Barrow. You can see it from here, though. The mountain just over the buildings.
I mention this as an example because most people have played this quest, and the barrow has a very distinct look at the side of the mountain, and that's where you need to go. Another use for landmarks is something I'll call anchor points. It's a place that you visit early in the game, and it's visible for much of the rest of the game, and it's kind of a memory jogger to where you started from. For this example, I'll talk about the Washington Monument as used in Fallout 3. Early in the main quest, you visit Three Dog, a DJ for Galaxy News Radio. You're there seeking information on the location of your father. And what I would probably describe as a bit of a dick move, Three Dog withholds information from you until you go out and risk your life for him by installing a communication relay dish on top of the Washington Monument. And that's only after first retrieving the dish from the Museum of Technology. What I like about this quest is that you have to spend time in DC's National Mall and get to see the many in-game versions of real-world monuments and what they look like after the war. But importantly, you end up at the top of the Washington Monument. And the thing that I'm most impressed by is that this monument can be seen from so many places in the Capital Wasteland. You can see it from Rivet City. You can see it from Canterbury Commons. You can see it from what feels like miles away. I normally visit it early in a run through of the game, so for the rest of the game, when I see the Washington Monument, I'm reminded of that early quest. One other use of landmarks is to help relay to you the type of game that you're playing, the setting, the theme and genre, to help you get a sense and immerse you in the world that this game is set in. So what type of game world is this? Is it post-apocalyptic Boston, as in Fallout 4? Am I walking through actual historical locations, such as in Assassin's Creed Odyssey? What about the thrill of seeing something as it once was, the pyramids of Giza in Assassin's Creed Origins? Assassin's Creed Origins was set about 2,000 years ago. Although the pyramids are old, they are covered, whereas they're not today. The Sphinx still has its nose and still has some paint on it. During the game, the pyramids were already 3,000 years old. So to characters in the game, the pyramids were already ancient. It took me a while to get my head around that. Maybe you're playing in a Dark Souls-like dark fantasy setting like Elden Ring, or it's a contemporary setting like Manhattan in Spider-Man. I played a whole bunch of the most recent Spider-Man game and spent a lot of time swinging around Manhattan, and I kid you not, my knowledge of the geography of Manhattan comes more from playing Spider-Man than my 2 real-world visits to the city. Maybe it's a cyberpunk setting, as in Cyberpunk 2077. Or in the case of Immortals Fenyx Rising, is it a land filled with highly stylized gods and monsters from Greek mythology? Now, I have spent many hours enjoying Immortals Fenyx Rising. Now, this game, you may not know, was originally to be called Gods and Monsters, which I think is a perfect name for the game. But apparently the company that makes the Monster Energy drinks put in a trademark violation against Ubisoft, who was making the game. They were concerned that people would get confused between their high energy sugary drinks and a video game. So they wanted to reduce any ambiguity by insisting that Ubisoft not use the word monster. So Ubisoft changed the name of the game to Immortals Fenyx Rising because of Monster Energy drinks. Yeah. Anyway, Immortals is a great example of using landmarks to describe the world you're playing in, as many of the landmarks are actually enormous statues of characters who you will eventually meet in the game. Landmarks can also help tell you the story of what happened to the world that you're playing in leading up to the time that you're in now. So the Boston skyline is very relevant for Fallout 4, and the other one that comes to mind for me are the Ayleid ruins in Oblivion. So Cyrodiil, the land that Oblivion is set in, is dotted with many old elven ruins called Ayleid ruins after the race of elves that built them, and we explore these ruins throughout the game to collect Welkund and Vala stones, or the Ayleid statues that Umbercano collects, as you may recall. And one of these ruins is Vilverin, directly across the water from when you exit the Imperial sewer at the start of the game. So I really quite enjoyed exploring them and collecting all the 10 ancestors, as they're called, for Umbercano.
Ah, yes. My treasure hunting friend.
At the heart of Cyrodiil, though, is the Imperial City, and in the middle of the city is the white gold tower, the spire built by elves even older than the Ayleids. The white gold tower, often now described as the Imperial Palace, is that tall spire. And it's visible from so many places within Cyrodiil, and it's of an architectural style so different from any other modern style that you'll encounter throughout the game. The White Gold Tower and the Ayleid ruins are constant reminders that the land that we know of as Cyrodiil was once occupied by one or more other civilizations long before the Imperial Empire that we see in Oblivion took over. And it could be that landmarks are there to help just remind you that the game that you're playing, the role that you're playing, is part of a larger fictional universe.
I don't want to die here. Please don't hurt me.
And the obvious example here is Hogwarts Legacy, where even though it's set before the Harry Potter movies, Hogwarts hasn't changed that much, and it looks quite impressive actually. But another example might actually be from one of many Lord of the Rings games, but I won't show them here just due to copyright claim issues that would likely result. Landmarks can also be places to help you achieve further goals. For example, the radio towers in the Far Cry games and the vistas in the Assassin's Creed games. Climbing to these high points, which can be quite difficult and at times jumping off these high points to survive an impossibly high fall thanks to the world's softest haystacks. Anyway, we'll ignore that. The game mechanic here is that a new part of the map is unlocked when you get to the top of these towers or the vantage point. And not only can you see more of the map, but new activities in that part of the game world are opened up as well. It's a mechanic that is used a lot and perhaps overused, since I remember seeing it, I think, in Far Cry 3 for the first time. But overall, I like the idea, as I can see in the distance where I need to go first to unlock an area without always having to refer to a map. Another category of landmark is the one where the landmark is the mission. I'll just show you this. It is just fantastic. Shadow of the Colossus. A unique game. There's nothing remotely like it. Fantastic game. Strongly recommend it. So, just as a rug can really tie a room together, so too landmarks can really bring a game's open world together into an enjoyable, cohesive whole. Sure, landmarks help you work out where you are, where you need to go, but they are also reminders of where you've been, such as an anchor point on the horizon or trophies standing testament to your conquest of a dungeon. And don't forget, landmarks have an important role to play in describing the game world. For me, knowing I can walk between landmarks helps me link each of these places to each other in my head, and so gives me a better appreciation of the world as a single place, which is key, I think, to giving me that feeling of immersion I get from a good open world game. Starfield is not Skyrim in space. It can't be. I don't think it was ever meant to be. It is a different kind of game. It is a space exploration game. It is not a single open world populated with interesting landmarks that I can walk between. And don't get me wrong, I am still looking forward to playing more Starfield. It has been worked on, improved and patched, and will be supported for a long time, I'm sure. Critics might think that no amount of time will improve it sufficiently, but that brings to mind an expression I've heard, which is that time will not turn a bad wine into a good wine, or however it goes. And this is true about wine, but it is also true that Starfield is a game, not a drink. And I think we can all tell the difference between a game and a drink, yes? Okay, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you found that interesting. Let me know what you think. Thanks. Fenyx is out.